wanted to have 1,000 self-storage doors, right? And actually with
Yeah.
800 self-storage doors, but thought that's what I wanted, had it in my vision. We started taking down a couple of self-storage facilities. It is not what I want. I don't want to have anything
Yeah.
to do with self-storage. So I thought that's what I want. I could see
Yeah.
a path to get there. I started down the path to get there, got some experience with it, realized it's not what I want. So I'm going to change. Now, you have to, your vision has to pass the test of disappointment, right? But this wasn't disappointment for me. It was, I don't like it, right? I don't like the
Yeah.
effort that has to go into it. So it wasn't a disappointment type thing where I had to overcome obstacles or challenges. I had to do those things too. But in the end, it didn't warrant the way that I wanted to become wealthy anymore once I
Yeah.
started down that path.
Hey everyone, this is David Richter of the Profit First RIA podcast. Have a special guest today, Kandas Broome, which we go back, don't we, Candace? We go
We
like
do.
back,
We got
back.
way back.
We go way back where this is what? I don't know. It seems like 10 years ago, like when we were building Podio systems for real estate investors and we worked
That's
with
right.
Candace and then also her business partner Larry Goins, and that was pretty incredible back then just seeing all the
Yep.
stuff behind the scenes. So we have a long history because now fast forward, the 10 years later and she has her own business. Obviously, we have Simple CFO here and wrote Profit
Right.
First, all that stuff. And Candace, I'm just excited to okay, let's fill in some gaps because I knew you back then. I know you now.
Right.
So I'm excited just to have this deeper conversation with you. So thanks for being on today.
No, I completely appreciate it. I've always been a fan of Profit First. You doing the deep dive Profit First for real estate investors really helped us out too. So I love it. Everything that you are about, everything that you do, the person that you are, I'm a big fan.
Well,
So I really
I
appreciate
appreciate
being here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I did not pay Candace to say that, which was great. So she actually got to know me because we're going to talk about what Candace does now, which is pretty incredible and has already helped me a ton in my life and just some of the trajectory that, as we're recording this at the beginning of 2026, that I'm hopeful for this year and have some good steps for the next steps. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So we'll just wet your whistle before we get there, though. But Candace, you've got a history with the real estate world of like you've been in it, the trenches, you've seen an operation, you've even been part of it. I think because Larry sold everything, right? So it's like you've been part of transitions and you've seen lots of stuff. So I don't know, where do you want to start? Like how you got into this, or like what's the most exciting things that have happened to you on this journey? I just want to know. I want to know like Candace and what keeps her ticking.
Well, back in way back when, 2016, 2017, maybe when you guys were building Podio, we had one that was super convoluted. You guys came in, completely simplified it for us. Um, back in the day, we had, this is again with Larry Goins, we had probably 5 or 6 different entities running and operating at that time. And in 2016 and 2015, we learned EOS and the language around that and started implementing it. In 2016, I became the integrator over all of our entities. So simplicity was our theme back then, and we've kept that. Um, when we started doing a revamp on our business and everything, it started making us look a little bit deeper at why we were driving for what we were driving for,
Mm,
especially Larry, right? He's the CEO, he's the
yeah.
founder, he was our driver. So, what we started finding was that the businesses that we had, even though profitable, even though we had built them, some of them at a rapid scale, and they were really lucrative businesses, they weren't fulfilling the life that he ultimately wanted to have or thought that he would have as a business owner. So that put us on the trajectory of vision. And when we started looking at vision, I dove head first, and it felt like I had like landed in this utopia world. Like I understood where we weren't aligned. I could see the bigger picture. I could hear what he was saying, even things he wasn't saying that, and we knew there needed to be a change. In 2018, he did a burn it down, right? We completely burned all of our entities down. We had 3 great people come in and help us do that. And
3
that's for
arsonists. Is that what
3
it was?
3 that's where, so we were the guinea pigs for, like, the burn it down exercise, right? We were the
Yeah.
birth of that exercise, and, I've used it several times since then on students of mine, of coaching students of mine, but When it happened to us, it's super painful, right? It put him in a really uncomfortable place, but it forced him to answer some really difficult questions. If everything was gone, what would he build back? And when we build it back, what would it look like, right? Would it look like what we have now, or would it look different? Like him completely in the driver's seat, knowing everything he knows, having to shed all of those responsibilities, all of the obligations. If all of that were just gone, what would he actually do? And we had to look at it through the lens of money is not an issue and time is not an issue. You've got all the time in the world that you want and you've got all the money that you need. So, through that lens, would you even build it back? And if you would, what would it look like? So, we went through that process. We did it with each other. He ultimately decided that he didn't want to coach anymore. He didn't want the education division. We sold that off, which we were told couldn't be done. You can't sell a education business with a face on it, to somebody else. But we did that, and life became a lot simpler for him and a lot more life focused versus business focused. The real estate side was revamped to support what it was he wanted going on. So it was really, really pivotal for us in 2018 when that happened, and the trajectory that his life started taking since then. Now, last year, this is 2026, so 2024, we did it again. And some new things came to light, some new focuses came to light. We did another mini revamp. We didn't have to burn anything down. We just kind of changed some things and looked at some things differently with our real estate entity over 2025 and going into 2026. So it was extremely pivotal for us. What happened for me was he had started taking me to these mastermind groups that we're both in, right?
Yeah.
We know a ton of the same people, all great people, men and women. Great businesses have been built by these great people, but a lot of them were in the same situation that he was in, right? In 2016, 17, 18, 19, even after we started going through the changes of everything. And in these mastermind groups, some of the ones that we're in have hot seats. And what I was noticing was a lot of the problems that were brought to the table were repeated, right? And so it started making me think about swimming upstream. What happens between, because we were having massive change, right, at
Yeah.
an epic scale in between the meetings. And like, what was happening to these other people with everything they say they want, getting back home, nothing happening, coming back to the next meeting with kind of the same things happening or on very little progress. So that led me to start working with individuals in their teams, individuals in their right hands, just as I was Larry's right hand, working with the visionary and his right hand, CEO right hand, whatever label or term or title you want to put on them,
Right.
to try to make sure that there was communication there. And what I found was there's a language barrier. Visionaries speak a certain language, CEOs speak a certain language, COOs or integrators speak a certain language, and there's not a lot of awareness out there to learn how to talk to each other. That's instinctive for me, and I was able to help bridge that gap between the two and translate what it was the visionary was looking for or was trying to say and didn't know how to articulate to their team for execution, right? Also, I was able to help them get out of their own way a little bit, and my presence, not dominant but strong, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was able to kind of help them face a lot of things that their team wasn't able to say to them. I had no skin
Mm.
in the game except
Yeah.
for to tell them the truth from what I saw. So I was able to express some things and say some things that they needed to hear, whether they wanted to or not, that was impacting their team and the performance of their team. So working with their teams, I had to swim upstream a little bit more. And one of the biggest questions that I started having to ask them was, what is your team even driving for? Do they know? Where's your vision? And they could tell me, but a majority of them didn't have it written down. Some of them weren't able to articulate it, and that is where the vision process for me really started taking shape. In the mastermind groups, I was asked to start being part of brainstorming sessions to help pull vision out of people. I started formulating kind of a process to do that, a little bit of a format, to help people start to question the conditions, that they
Yeah.
put around themselves and they put around their business. So I just kept swimming upstream and developed the process really out of necessity for us, for Larry, and then also to help these guys and ladies that I really love being in masterminds with that are doing amazing things in the communities that we're in.
No, that's awesome. And it's awesome to hear your journey and you diving into like how you got into it and why you're getting into it and why you've helped people and which is really cool. I also wonder too, when when does someone need help with their vision? Like let's just say, okay, let's say oh, well, unless you say if they're in a W-2, they need a vision. If they are just starting out and they're a new entrepreneur or a new business owner, they need a vision. If they've got a team, like, and they're not able to communicate that vision, obviously they need a vision then from what you just said. But I'm just wondering, like, for someone listening here, would it be like, okay, when do they need to start thinking about that? Is it as soon as humanly possible or like yesterday or 20 years ago, the best time to plant a tree? I'm just wondering, like, in your mind, then, like what's the best time to think about this?
Well, a lot of times what I've found is people don't start thinking about it or start looking for some type of an option until they're at a pain point.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
Even
for sure.
before that, though, yeah, when they're in pain, they feel like they wanna move.
Yeah.
Either it's a business owner who I just met a guy last night, it's by happenstance, he came to look at a HVAC unit that's at one of our properties, but, by happenstance, and he started talking about his business, and he is about 6 to 8 months away from striking a match and burning the whole thing.
Mm,
Like, he is so frustrated, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
he's at an infraction point, and he's like, "There has to be something more." We talked for a little, not even about the HVAC. After we got finished with that, it was, "I can see your pain. I recognize it. And so what's going on?" And, he started telling me, and it's yeah, he's ready to not have a job when he thought he was gonna be a business owner, right?
Mm,
And so those infraction points are when people are more so ready to act on either starting a vision, clarifying a vision, or acting on a vision. A lot of what I've noticed is there are a lot of people who want clarity, right? And vision helps
yeah.
give you clarity, but it also gives you a direction. And so that's where the discipline really comes in. And without a pain, sometimes that discipline is not there. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So we could do, I believe anybody and everybody needs a vision. It doesn't matter if you're in a W-2 position. Like, what is it that you want out of life? What is it that you want out of your life within the work that you do? Or how is the
Yeah.
work that you do supporting the life that you want to have? Right. So maybe you're in a W-2 and you want to remain in a W-2, but is it in the industry that's really lighting you up? Is it in the industry that's really fulfilling your purpose, right? Your God given purpose. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I am faith based. It's not something that I push down anybody's throat, but it is going to be a part of how I stand.
Yeah. I love that what you just said there of it doesn't matter where you are if you don't have that vision. It's like it even says it in scripture, right? Where there is no vision, the people perish. And it's like this is where if you are on this journey, and whether you're an entrepreneur or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, are you very clear with what you want? That's what I was hearing here because I think that's probably one of the biggest questions that's hard to answer. It's like, what do you really want? And people did yeah, I know it was hard for me for a long time to be able to really articulate that, but then, having an process to go down this road to be able to say, "Okay, what do I really want? Do I wanna stay in this W-2 or do I not want to? What does it look like if I don't?"
Right.
Maybe you find your thing because. I would think this would be a great tool as well for like teenagers that are going into
For sure.
college, like it's like having a good process and a good way of thinking. It seems like you're teaching more of the process and way of thinking of how do I be really clear on what I want and what I pursue because Candace, how many times do you see someone that they pursue something and it's like, "Why? Why are you doing this?" And then they ask themselves, "Why am I doing this?" And then they come to you and you're like, "Why am I doing this?" And you're saying,
Yeah.
"I don't know." Like, what, we got to dig into this. So, I
Right.
think that's very interesting. I love that perspective. I also just wanted to highlight what you had said before too. When you go to someone and you're helping them out, it's like you're a translator. Sounds like you're a
Mhm.
translator between the leadership team, whether it's like an owner and the right hand, or, like you said, CEO, COO, whatever the titles are, or if it's their team, or if it's their actual the people that are on the team working for them. It's like, okay, do they know your vision and how are you communicating it? And you're really helping them. I thought what you said was very good as well, that you're direct, and a lot of people don't have that directness, or and maybe they do, but they don't have the other side of, like, if you're going to be direct, is it attached to the vision, and is it
Yeah.
really attached to the long term? Or is it just because you have a short fuse and you're not emotionally
Right.
intelligent and you're just spouting off? So I thought that was good too, because I think that's lacking in a lot of places. Someone that's really honest with them. I like how you said too that you're not emotionally attached to the outcome.
Right.
So like you can
Right.
be real. So I thought that's really good too. So having someone like you in the corner helps really clarify that. So, is there anything you wanna expand on there?
Well, just to when we were talking about the teams,
Yeah,
there is a language barrier that happens with the visionary and the team, or with with the owner and the team. A lot of businesses are founder dependent because of um language barrier,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They don't know how to express what it is that they want. They're not sure how to put it into words. And they a lot of owners that we know are heavy on the dominant side, and so they want their thumbprint on it. They want it related to their image. And so there's a balance there that has to happen with getting something done, getting the result that they want, but then allowing the people that they've hired to step up and get it done in a way that produces the result, even if it doesn't follow the exact path the way they would do it themselves. So there's some things that founders need to kind of remember, right? And relearn or retrain themselves on, just to make sure that they're utilizing their team the most effective and efficient way possible. And I can step in and help them understand that a little bit better. Another thing that comes into mind is when spouses are business partners and working
mhm,
in the industry together, right? When both of those people within a marriage also have roles within the company,
right,
and most of the time they're tied pretty closely together. Either it's one is the founder and one is the CEO, one is the founder and maybe one is the financial officer.
yeah,
Like they have really pivotal roles within the organization most of the time together. It's You rarely find a founder that is married to the receptionist, right? Like that's not usually the dynamic. And so what happens with those couples when they have that relationship at home and relationship at the office is helping them understand how they're talking to each other about the things they're talking about, right? Like
mm,
situationally, I have to
yeah,
help them understand and ask, which hat do you want me to wear right now? Do you want me to wear the wife hat who's on your side and helps you think through this for our family? Or do you want me to wear the CFO hat who's only looking at the numbers on the P&L for the spreadsheet, right?
right.
And helping them clarify how they're speaking to each other and the language that they're using, making sure they also know when to turn it off to break away and just be husband and wife again, right? Is something else that comes to mind that I have to work on with people.
All right, I have to pause the episode real quick. If you're a real estate investor who's tired of wondering where your money is going or why you're closing deals but still feeling broke, you need to talk to Simple CFO. Simple CFO is Profit First certified and fully endorsed by Mike McAlowitz, the creator of Profit First himself. Our team specializes in helping real estate investors finally get control of their cash flow so you keep more money, you pay yourself consistently, and build a business that doesn't run on chaos. We'll help you implement the Profit First system the right way, set up the financial processes you've been missing, and give you a dedicated fractional CFO who actually understands investing and keeping track of your numbers on flips, wholesales, rentals, private lending, all of it. So if you want predictable profit instead of living deal to deal, head over to simplecfo.com and book your financial clarity call today. That's simplecfo.com. Stop living in confusion and start keeping the money you work so hard to earn. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, that's big. That's really big, especially if it's a spouse relationship and if they're that close on the team. And I like how you said that. Which hat do you want me to wear right now? Because like I'm going to give you two different answers depending on what you want from me and who you want me to be right now. And I think that's so good. And just a lot of people, when you say it out loud, it seems like, oh, that's logical. Like, of course, like then that would just make communication better. But we've never been taught this stuff. And
No.
especially usually, Candace, this when those conversations come up, they're usually not logical. They're probably pretty emotionally charged. So it's like, we only fall to the level of our system. So do you have a system to talk about when the hard things come up? And it sounds like you're helping the people that have a spouse in the business to be able to say, okay, I need to think about this different. The next time I know that a situation like this is going to come up. So being that translator is really good there. It sounds like too that if you're working with them, they can come to you to learn
That's
that
right.
stuff. And maybe even, do you ever like field those conversations the first couple times too and be like, okay, like, how's this going? Or like giving
100%.
the feedback. Yeah. Okay. I wondered if you're
100%.
not into it. So,
Yes, there are things that they will wait to bring up until
ah,
they have me on the line, right?
that's
They'll
good.
have, like, a list for our call of, maybe situations that they wanna talk about, things that are going on within the business, something that's happened, but they wanna make sure that it's coming across the right way. 100%.
Okay.
I get pulled into those types of conversations to help mediate and facilitate, right? Not really mediate as much as facilitate.
Facilitated so that they can work it out themselves, but you're just there to facilitate and make sure, like, okay, if you get off track, we've got someone here to help us get back on the right track, or if they get stuck, that type of thing. So I really like that. That's awesome. I also
Yes,
think there's another pain point of when someone is whether their vision's going to be tested is when they start hiring people. Like if they go from solopreneur to then having the team, what I heard you say before is that the people that you've worked with that have teams have never learned how to let go and give their stuff really to the team to run and to be able to put that in their hands and trust them like with it to take it
right.
to the end zone. Do you feel like that's another big pain point is usually when people are going from solopreneur or maybe it's a spouse, husband wife where they've maybe even got that they've got some stuff down, but now they're a third party or a third person or a fourth or fifth, and they're starting to hire. Is that another pain point where vision comes into
There's
play?
It does come into play with, when vision comes into play, or it does start to happen when vision comes into play, but 2 things can happen with that. One
Yeah.
is they don't know how to let go of control. 2 is they've let go of control too quickly before, and they've gotten jaded because whoever they handed
Mm,
it to wasn't, trained properly to be able to
yeah.
handle that, or the expectation wasn't given clearly enough, and so they've gotten bad results, right? And so then they don't trust the next time that it comes through. So those both of those situations can play out, and you just have to make sure that the infrastructure is there and that certain things are thought of, like, this is a responsibility, this is what this responsibility means, this is the outcome that we want to get from this responsibility, right? And so just clarity around all of those things to make sure everybody's on the same page. A ton of what happens with vision is just clarity in communication,
Yeah.
and that's where the rubber meets the road, I believe, is there's clarity from the founder, there's control of themselves, right? The founder has established a sense of control within themselves on what they're driving for, and
Yeah.
so therefore that can then be translated and filtered down to the rest of the team.
I like that. Would you say because you mentioned EOS and yeah, and there's all those different types of systems out there. But when you're working through vision, what is would you say there's one most important thing for a founder to be able to communicate? Because if I'm thinking of the EOS framework, like they have the core values and then they have the vision, the core vision or the core purpose, or they have like
The
the 10
mission.
year or the 10-year target of like or something, like that you're all working towards together. I don't know. I'm just using that as a framework, but you could say whatever answer you want to. Is there like one thing that you say we have to nail this down so that way we can give clarity to the rest of the team? Or is it like, no, it has to be all of it or none of it? Like, then it doesn't matter. I just wonder what your answer is on that one.
When it comes to targets, EOS and I disagree a little
Okay.
bit when it comes to targets. I
Yeah.
can't see 10 years down the road. I
Yeah.
can't see 5 years down the road. I have a hope for those things, right?
Right.
I have a vision of what I want,
Yeah.
regardless of the time frame. And if the vision is big enough, then it will, like, supersede time. It doesn't matter. It could take you a year to get there. It could take you 6 years to get there, but you're
Okay.
constantly working toward it, right?
Yeah.
Now, so we differ a little bit on that. That we also, EOS doesn't really dig into the why. That force is the driving direction,
Right. It's
and
very
that's
business
it is
focused
very business, but
versus like what's. your why and like
That's
what's
right.
behind it. Okay.
That's
That
right.
makes sense.
But the anchoring the what to the why with
Yeah.
your vision is what's going to keep the momentum going. If the why is locked in and it's strong enough, then it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. You know that's where you're supposed to be going and that's where you'll end up driving. Now, some things can happen with vision. It's not a locked in thing. You might say, and I'll give you an example. I thought that I wanted to have 1,000 self storage doors, right? And actually with
Yeah.
800 self-storage doors, but thought that's what I wanted, had it in my vision. We started taking down a couple of self-storage facilities. It is not what I want. I don't want to have
Yeah.
anything to do with self-storage. So I thought that's what I want. I could see
Yeah.
a path to get there. I started down the path to get there, got some experience with it, realized it's not what I want. So I'm going to change. Now, you have to your vision has to pass the test of disappointment, right? But this wasn't disappointment for me. It was I don't like it, right? I don't like the
Yeah.
effort that has to go into it. So it wasn't a disappointment type thing where I had to overcome obstacles or challenges. I had to do those things too, but in the end, it didn't warrant the way that I wanted to become wealthy anymore once I
Yeah.
started down that path, right?
Sounds
So
like it didn't fill your cup
it
while you
did
were
not.
doing it. Yeah.
It did not. It drained me.
Yeah.
Um, and so knowing having awareness about myself, knowing that I could continue down that path, I could hit that if I wanted to, but the way I was gonna have to hit it and the pull on my life that it was gonna take wasn't worth it for me. So your vision can be fluid enough. It needs to be solid enough with the direction. It needs to be anchored to your why. However, you can give yourself grace and allow fluidity there to pivot or make adjustments and directions if you start down a path and it's not the one that's really for you. Does
That makes
that make
sense.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Because then it's like, okay, then you're stuck on the, "Oh, well, I can't change this thing," or I set this thing and I just have to see it through. For those people that, cut quit out of their dictionary or whatever, it's like, "Wait a second. Like, wait. Like, is this really serving you for your long term, or are you just gonna be beating your head against the wall for the next 4
Right.
years?" Like,
Right.
this we have to really understand, are you just quitting because it got hard, but you still
Right.
love it? Or are you quitting because it just doesn't fill you up, and
Doesn't
it's not.
fit.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. No, I love this, and why I wanted to bring Candace on, I actually got to work with her personally. So this is not just all theories, and like, oh, this sounds good and I trust this person a lot. Now, I actually trust Candace enough that I put my money where my mouth is and went through this process. And I will tell you, from Simple CFO, like, we are implementing things this year that have already taken place. Cause I even had a call with Candace yesterday and she was basically holding me accountable. What are you doing this year already? Like, with the vision, which was great. And I thankfully we have started some things this year on that vision path. But I will say in 2025, I don't know, besides any personal, like with my family or my spouse, this was my favorite other, like, conversation that I had the entire year.
That's
The the
awesome.
the
That's
the
awesome.
the questions that Candace pulls out and is able to pull out of me and, like, what I really want and all that, it's if you aren't clear on your vision, and even if you have EOS or Rise or, like, all these different
Yeah,
templates
yeah.
out there for it, like, you still need someone like Candace in your corner to be able to really pull out not just the what do you want, but why do you want it, which was so rewarding going through this with Candace. But then it got even better because she actually took really good notes and then sent back on a document like, this is what I heard you say. Like, and if there's anything different, of course, we could go back and forth. But like, what she did, she laid it all out. It was a great document. Like, I still have that document up on my other screen over here, where it's like I can go back to it and be like, okay, we started this. Is there something else that I want to now put into play? And it helps me as a business owner. Because a lot of us, if you are running a business, you're setting like the annual goals and the quarterly goals. Well, it needs to be centered around your vision and like the why around it. And so now it's like, for me this year, honestly, it's a lot easier to pull out, what do I really want to focus on? Because I want to
Mhm.
make sure it's driving towards that vision. So I'm just giving Candace a huge shout out here because I went through this process. It was incredible. And I was like, I've been an EOS fanboy for like the past 10 years since we
Yeah.
were in the real estate space. And this was another level to make sure that what I'm putting into practice in my business is really what I want from my life. And that was so good. So Candace, I wanted to thank you publicly here, but then I also wanted to give you a little bit to talk about, okay, like what is that process? How many, like, is this one session? Is this a bunch of sessions? And how can they get a hold of you? I want to just make sure you have a little time here to tell about your actual service.
Yeah, sure. So the vision extractions, so all things for me start with a vision. If I'm coming in to work with a team, to work with a visionary and an integrator, or to work with a founder and the COO or their right hand, whatever chief of staff, whatever title that person has, it all starts with a vision for me. I've got to know where we're driving. There's got to be clarity around that. So there can be healthy challenge around that, right? So the process of a vision extraction right now is with me. Um, I
Ooh,
am,
you get Candace. You don't get just someone else. You get Candace still. So this is
I
like,
know.
yeah, right now you still get her.
I'm
So
not
just
sure when
putting that
that's
out there,
gonna, yeah.
right?
I won't be able to always do that, I don't think, for
Yeah,
everybody,
for sure.
but, I am still the driving force right now with all of the vision extractions. So, we book a call together and, well, we could do a little bit of a discovery call before if it works for both of us to go into a vision extraction. We go into it. It's a Zoom call that we do together. I do a lot of body language reading as well as hearing what it is somebody says. I like
Yeah,
to see the reactions and gauge how engaged they are in the process of this clarity for themselves. So it's a Zoom call. It usually lasts a couple hours. I ask that you don't schedule anything immediately after, just in case we go over.
right,
Then I take some time with what I hear you say. I format it, lay it out as if it is happening already, right? A lot of times people give me stuff that they don't like about life right now or they don't want in life right now. We can turn that into a prophetic, almost positive version of what it is that they've said and lay that out as it is the life that they're living already right now. The more you lean into that version, the more you're pulled in that direction, right? And so I deliver this, what I hear you say back, and we can go from there. If you have if somebody already has a coach, then this is something that you can hand to them and say, hey, I did this work. Hold on. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold.
God
I
bless.
did this work and here's where I want to go. And it shows why. And it's really in depth. Help me get there, right?
Yeah.
If they don't have somebody like that in their life, I can be that accountability person for them. I'm going to be a little hard. I'm going to be direct. But I do help get results, right?
Yeah.
So,
She's
um,
honest, she's direct, she won't get you what you want. It's like you just have to be honest with her too. That's the other
and
thing here is like,
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to be
And
honest with
yourself.
yourself and with
Yeah.
her. So I love this. So how can people get a hold of you, Candace, for this?
Vision Driven Freedom is the website. There's a little quiz at the top right corner you can take, and you can answer some questions. It kind of gets you in the mindset or the headspace when it comes to vision. Asking you some conditioning questions, just where you are with stuff with life and business. Or you could shoot me an email, Candace at visiondrivenfreedom.com. Candace is spelled a little bit weird, so you might have to throw that up somewhere for them, David. Kandas
So
at visiondrivenfreedom dot
I'm gonna
com.
put her name there, so it's Candace at visiondrivenfreedom.com because I'm not that fast of a typist to be able to do the whole thing right there. So there's Candace, Kandas, which,
Yep,
okay, I have a little story here, even for the public podcast. We were on a call yesterday, like I said, with accountability, and
yep.
you were in your car. So I think on your phone, it made your name Kandad. And I'm like, that was hilarious. It's a candid. And I'm like, this is great. This is exactly who Candace is. So it was just a different spelling for Candid, but hey, it totally fit. But it's Candace at visiondrivenfreedom.com if you want to email her, or it's visiondrivenfreedom.com if you want to go out check out her site. Honestly, her site is impeccable. It's great. She's got testimonials on there, other people she's worked with, and then you can take that
Thanks.
actual extraction as well too in that little quiz. I highly recommend Candace. Candace, is there anything else you want to leave everyone else with here at the end of the episode?
Just to start asking yourself better questions.
Mm,
Ask deeper questions of yourself, whether it's you get somebody like myself to work with you through a process like this. There's some great books out there on vision building. Visioneering is one. Vivid Vision is another one. Both of those I recommend. Usually, if not in a situation like this, in a one on one. So that can definitely get your brain working in the right direction too to start asking better questions.
awesome. Well, there you go. There's some recommendations so you could get prepared if you want to, or you could just go to vision freedom driven freedom.com and then you can book an extraction because she will extract that vision for you, which is clarifying and will help you with the rest of what you need as a business owner to, and even if you're not a business owner, like just for your life,
That's
where do you
right.
want to go
Doesn't
to the
matter.
next level? It doesn't matter where you are on that journey right now. That vision is where it starts. And like Candace had mentioned, even if you're early on in that journey, if you think you want to be an entrepreneur, it'd be great to do it now, and it'd be great to do a year from now and 3 years, and like just
That's
making
right.
sure that you're on the right track of what you want. So Candace, thank you so much for being here today and for being such an encouragement to this community and really helping, I believe, on a topic that everyone needs and everyone needs to go down and needs that vision. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, and for all of your great questions. Like I love the way that you and I connect, and the way conversations flow with us, and the depth that we get to have. So it's always great to talk to you.
I appreciate that. And remember, if you're listening to this and you suck at money and you have no idea where it's going, you're making money, but you feel broke, reach out to us at simplecfo.com. We want to help you. We just want to make sure you've got simple systems in place. That's simplecfo.com. Remember to make profit a habit in your business. And thank you so much for listening. That's it for today's show. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share this episode. If you're serious about financial systems and keeping more of your profit, visit simplecfo.com to take your free